Hello, everyone. Today I'm here with a very special guest, Dianna. Now, she was actually a participant in the JAMVAT Scholarship Programme. So she's going to be sharing with us today everything you need to know about the program. Now, hi, Dianna. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm okay.
All
Can
right.
you hear
Now,
me?
yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay.
Now, I think the viewers want to know, what university did you go to?
I went to NCU, Northern Caribbean University in Mandeville.
Okay, and if you're from NCU, please go ahead and drop in the comments and show your school some love. So, okay, Dianna, you went to NCU. I want to know, what made you decide to apply for JAMVAT in the first place?
Actually, when I was going to NCU, I graduated 2013, so it's a long time. So
Yeah.
my friends were the ones who introduced me to JAMVAT. So they were already doing JAMVAT. So they told me about JAMVAT. And at the time, I was doing my tuition by myself. So I didn't have
Okay.
student loan or anything. So I had to pay my tuition out of pocket. So when I learned about JAMVAT from my friends, I realized that they pay 30% of your tuition. So I only had to worry about 70%. So of course, this is definitely something that I wanted to do. So I think you just need to go on and sign up. And once you sign up and you qualify, then you're selected. It's a selection process at the
Yeah.
time. And you can do JAMVAT 3 times, if I remember correctly. At the time, you could do it only 3 times. So that's basically how I heard about JAMVAT and decided to sign up. 30% is a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot, Diana. And thank you for sharing that. You can go up to 3 times in this program, which means that if your program is 3 year long, you can actually be financed for your entire university stay, which is pretty cool. So thanks for sharing that. Now, where did you do your community service hours, and how did you go about finding that business place to go to?
I did my JAMVAT at the police station in Mandeville, actually.
Okay.
But what I realized when I was looking for a place to do JAMVAT is that the government institutions, they're aware of JAMVAT. So when you go to the government institutions and you tell them that you need to do your volunteer hours for JAMVAT, if they have space, as I think, depending on where you go, they have at least 10 spaces for JAMVAT students. They are aware of the program and they allow you to do the program if they have space. So when I went to the police station, I did my JAMVAT hours at night because I was a full-time student. So I did school during the day and I did my JAMVAT hours at the police station at night. Because one of the requirements actually is that at the time, I'm not sure if it's the same now, is that you needed to do your JAMVAT hours at a government institution.
Yes,
You
it's
couldn't
still the
just do it
same.
at anywhere.
Yeah.
So because I had to do my hours at nighttime, I chose the police station because it's the only government institution that is open at night, apart from the hospital, of course.
Yes.
So they had a space and I applied and they accepted me. And that's where I did my JAMVAT.
Okay, I want to know, how did you find it? Like, did you enjoy working there? Was there anything you learned separately? What was the experience?
Well, when I did JAMVAT, I think I was probably 19 years old. So when I went to work with the police officers, I was very intrigued. It was interesting to see what they do on a day-to-day and how dangerous it is. It is very dangerous, but it's serious work. Of course, as a civilian, you were not entitled or exposed to a lot of the things because, you're a civilian. But like working with them and observing, you realize how dangerous the work is. But it's also very fascinating, to work in law enforcement. So I found it very interesting. And at that time, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should join the police force.
Wow.
I didn't, but I made a lot of friends and I learned a lot working with the superintendent and the detectives because I worked at CIB at the time.
Okay, so it sounds to me that even through JAMVAT, there is opportunities for networking.
For
Yeah,
networking.
you made a
And
lot
for
of
you
valuable
too.
connections.
And you can also look and say, oh, like this is interesting. For example, if you're a nursing student and you're interested in, of course, you're going to probably want to do your JAMVAT hours at the hospital. It's a good opportunity for you to observe what goes on in the hospital or at a clinic. So things like that, or at a school if you're a teacher. So it's depending on you and what you're interested in. For me, it was just convenience why I went to the police station. So there's that as well.
I understand, because even on the application form, it does say to choose somewhere that is close to you. So,
Right.
it's easy to access them.
Right.
Now, this is a serious question I want to ask you. When students hear 200 hours, 200
Yeah.
hours, it just sounds like a lot. Now, I want you to be really honest with me. Was it easier or harder than you expected to do 200 hours?
200 hours honestly is a lot for a student, especially it depends on your program of study. Because if you have labs, if you have internship, if you have work experience, those things, 200 hours is a lot. But if it's something that you really want to do, you will get it done. And you have to just manage your time wisely and be strategic. Like I said, for me, I knew I had to do school full time during the day. I have labs, I have club activities, I have community other things to do. So what I did, I decided to do it at night. So I leave school like 6 p.m. and I go up until 10 p.m. So I still had time to go home and study and do assignments. So you just have to manage your time and be strategic. But it can be done. It's, try to do at least 10 hours if possible, or 5. It's up to you and how you schedule yourself, because if you sign up for it, it's going to give you 30%. So the incentive alone will encourage you to find the time.
Yeah, I agree with you. And thank you for being so honest there, because 200 hours, it does sound a lot, but rightfully, as you said, if you want to get it done, you'll get it done. And was there any other tip you can share with scheduling? Was it that you had a timesheet? Like, how exactly did it go? You just went in when you could? What was
So
the
for me,
process?
I decided that I wanted to complete my hours within a certain time.
Yeah.
So I had a timesheet. So every time you go, so you take your timesheet with you at all times. You need to ensure when you go that you sign in on your timesheet and ensure that they sign your timesheet. Because if you go and they don't sign your timesheet, it doesn't count. And you don't want to go and spend 5 hours and they don't sign it and it doesn't count. So you need to bring your timesheet with you. Ensure it is signed and stamped by the person who is supervising you while you're doing your JAMVAT hours at whichever institution you decide to go. So
Thank you.
that is my tip. Just make sure you pay attention, because when you're working with these people, they're busy. It's not their responsibility to ensure that your JAMVAT hours timesheet is signed and completed. It is yours. And a lot of people, when they finish the JAMVAT hours and send in the documents, they don't get the 30% or something goes wrong because of the timesheet. Ensure your timesheet is done properly, and it is your responsibility, not the people you're working for. Oh, they didn't sign it. Oh, it's yours. No matter, it's yours. So that's my tip. Ensure your timesheet is completed properly.
Thanks so much for really hammering in that point, because that's the whole point of it. If you don't have your timesheet, it's almost as if you were non-existent. You didn't go.
Right. You
So
didn't do
thank
the
you so much
hours.
for that, Dianna. Yeah. So I want to talk about the part that everybody wants to know about, the money part now. So talk to us, Dianna. How did it feel like when the 200 hours are completed and you actually realize, yes, the money is going to be given to me for my tuition? What was that moment like when the 200 hours were completed?
Um, Normally, let me tell you from my experience, when you do your 30 hours, the money is deposited directly to your school account. So you don't get the money. And I think also with JAMVAT, they give you a $10,000 stipend, if I remember correctly. I think you also get a stipend outside of the tuition. I don't remember. What we can double check that. There's a
Sure.
stipend as well outside of the tuition. But when they deposit that money, it's really going to make a huge difference. That's 30%. It makes a huge difference, especially if you need to close out your balance before final exams. So for me, I always calculate JAMVAT when I'm making my tuition budget at the beginning of the year or the beginning of the semester. I calculate my 30%. So my job is to find the 70% because JAMVAT is going to cover the 30%. So if you find your 70% and you complete your hours, you're waiting on that 30%. So when that 30% is deposited to your account, it's like a huge burden
Yeah.
a huge burden comes off of you, because you can go ahead and just do your final exam, because you always have to clear your balance before your final exams. So when that 30% is deposited, and sometimes it's deposited first before you even can find your
Really?
70% or all of your 70%. So when you go to the finance office and you tell them that, I have JAMVAT, and they see that they deposit the 30% already in your account, if you haven't completed your 70%, it makes a difference.
It
So
does.
either way, it makes a huge difference with the finance office when you go to talk to them about, hey, I need to do my final exam and I don't have all my money, but hey, JAMVAT just paid 30%. It makes a
That's a
difference.
That's a really good point that you mentioned there, Diana, because I know that when it comes on to exam season, a lot of students are under stress when it comes on to doing the exam. Some people, they can't enter the exam room, they can't see their grades and all of these different things. But if you have your set 30%, as long as you do your hours and your timesheet is signed, you can go through the exam season partially stress free. So till you
You
figure
can.
out where your 70% is coming from. So,
And sometimes even your 30% can help you to get registered for your classes if you don't yet have all of your 70%. Having your document to say, hey, I signed up for JAMVAT and they're going to deposit 30% of my tuition also can help you to get registered at the beginning of the semester. So JAMVAT was huge for me, and it's always a part of my budget for 3 years of my university experience.
wow. Diana, I want to ask you in one sentence. So if someone is on the fence, they saw my video, they're not really sure if they should apply to JAMVAT, what would you tell them?
Do it. It's your tax money being put to use. It's true though. You're getting money from the government. It's your tax money being put to use. And it's your education, and you're getting help with your education. All you have to do is the 200 hours, and you can come up with a timetable and strategize to ensure you get those 200 hours done. It sounds like a lot of hours, but trust me, time goes by very quickly. And if you find a place that you're interested in to work, you will finish those hours in no time. The point that I wanted to make is that when you do JAMVAT like for the second time, then the institution is already aware that you did JAMVAT the first time and the money was deposited. So when you go into the second time and you have JAMVAT as a part of your financial plan, like me, then they know, okay, Diana did JAMVAT last year and her 30% was paid. So there is no doubt in their mind that if I do JAMVAT again this year, my 30% will be paid again. So it does really make a difference when you're getting registered for your classes or you're trying to clear your balance for final exams. Well, of
Okay.
course, this is based on my experience.
Yes, I get what you're saying, and that's a good point. It's almost like you already have credibility and relationship with them. So
Right.
your second time around, you shouldn't have any problem because they have you in good faith, basically.
Right. I remember you can do JAMVAT for 3 years of your studies. In my case, I calculate 30% of my tuition already paid. And if
Yes.
at the end of those 200 hours, you don't get that 30%, then you have to go back to the drawing board and find that 30%. That can be
Yeah.
devastating, especially when you're trying to, again, close out your finances to either graduate, do your exam, or register.
Yeah, it would throw off the budget. It sounds like you're really good with figures, then. Like you know a lot about budgeting and all of those stuff.
Listen to me. When you're going to university and you're a student, your budget, my friend, is very limited. Very limited. So every dollar counts, every scholarship, every 10%, every 20%, every 30%, every 70%. And that's basically how I paid my tuition, through scholarships and stuff like that. Because you find them and you keep your grades up and you do the community service and whatever is required, and you get that money. Because I didn't do student loan. I know a lot of people do student loan, but I didn't do student loan. So I had to find other alternatives. So this is what I did.
Yeah, and you touched on an important part with the networking, but I'm also curious to know, was there a part of your resume that got enhanced because of this program? Was there anything you were able to maybe add, throughout your experience on your resume?
Actually, no, because I was in a different field.
Oh,
so
okay.
I didn't use my experience from JAMVAT on my resume because it wouldn't have been relevant for what I was applying for. But it was good networking because, I get to meet people in law enforcement. So whenever there was an issue or anything, or if I needed like document sign, you get to meet JPs and people like that. So
True.
you can always go and ask them for help. So it still benefit you in some ways. But I would advise you, sign up for your JAMVAT early and choose your placement early so that you get the placement that you want that is relevant for you. Again, if you're doing nursing, you probably want to do it at a clinic or a hospital. So sign up early and try to find a placement early so you get that kind of placement. So it's relevant for you, for your resume. So that's a really good point. So that's
Okay.
also a good tip.
Yeah, because even when you were talking, I was like, I wonder if you were able to jot down a few points on your resume, but it wasn't relevant to your experience. But for somebody else, they can play it smart and have a double-edged sword where it's okay. I got my hours, I got my 30%, but I'm leaving with valuable work experience.
Yeah, and
So
they might hire you after you graduate. If you did a good job, just remain professional, follow the rules, and present yourself well, because this is also you showing your work ethics when you go into the real world. And it's real world experience working in the real world. Because at the time I was 19, I didn't have any real world work experience.
Yeah.
So this also exposes you to the real world of work, like what happens on, a day to day. Of course, I work in a rough environment. Working at the police station is rough, especially the night shift.
I would
But it,
imagine.
it, it gives you a real world experience to see what's happening in the real world and outside of your university bubble.
Yeah, and you touched on a good point of even being hired, because I always tell people, take anything that you're doing very seriously. I went from an intern to a full-time position with a company in my final year of university, and all it took was just showing up every day as my best self, taking it very seriously, and I ended up working with them for 2 years straight out
There
of
you go.
university.
There you
Yeah.
go. Networking is the way to go. Make sure, even though you're doing these voluntary hours and you're doing JAMVAT and it's just towards the tuition, you still show up as a professional in training. Just make sure you keep that in mind as well, because it matters.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Dianna. This is going to help so many young people who are just curious about the JAMVAT program or who wanted that extra little push to go ahead. I'm sure this video was their sign. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more content here at Clavina Speaks.